Verstappen and others are done with FIA mistakes as Red Bull fumes at Perez. The Austrian GP is a track that is always set up to be dominated by Red Bull. Verstappen won 4 out of the 6 contests that took place here, and it was only right for the fans to expect him to dominate yet again. After all, he did win his first career Grand Slam here last year, and with the fact that it's a home track for Red Bull, the Aranya army was really present in a huge number. However, Ferrari had different plans this season, and we were warned about their dominance in Saturday's sprint race when Leclerc said after the sprint that we can race them tomorrow after finishing P2 and Sainz P3. Red Bull was massively hurt by the retirement of Perez after his collision with Russell in Turn 4, but it was later compensated by Sainz's retirement in the ending stages of the race. But what's even more important is that the FIA was yet again in the centre of the attention with their decisions, and Red Bull also had some things to say regarding Perez and his share of the accident in Turn 4. So stick around with us until the end to find out more. The Austrian GP was really in favour of Verstappen as he secured pole on Friday and won the sprint race on Saturday without being challenged too much by both Ferrari drivers. His teammate, however, got disqualified in Q2 after he entered Q3 but breached track limits and had to start from P13. With Alonso not being able to start the sprint race, Perez gained 7 positions and finished P5, but in Turn 4 he was on the outside of the corner and collided with Russell, which saw Perez exiting the track in the gravel and enduring damage to his underfloor. He couldn't make up the pace and he had to retire the car to save the engine from further damage, as Russell was punished 5 seconds after their collision, a penalty he served in the pit stop. F1 fans have seen a flashback from 2020 when Albon was taken out by Hamilton at the same turn, to which the Thai driver said that Hamilton is a sore loser. But it seems like Red Bull didn't learn the mistake, as Perez tried to overtake yet again at the same place where Albon got taken out 2 years ago. True, Red Bull was ahead in both of these accidents, and although their drivers received the penalties, they ended up with points while Red Bull ended with empty hands. According to Dr. Helmut Marko, the team advised Perez to not go on the outside to overtake Russell and to wait for a better opportunity. Therefore, Marko had some strong criticism of Perez and his choice, as he lost the P2 position in the Drivers' Championship and cost the team in the Constructors' Championship too. We said before the start, do not go around the outside in that corner. That is not possible. This was just unnecessary. We've seen that before. It doesn't work. After that, the car was damaged and it made no sense to continue driving. There was a lot of damage to the floor. He might have finished 2 laps behind, so it didn't make sense to continue. It was better to save the mileage, said Marko. And one could understand what Marko is saying. Perez is currently driving one of the most dominant cars on the grid, and as we've seen in Australia and Spain and also Bahrain, he didn't have any problems in passing the Mercedes. In Australia, he didn't even need the DRS behind Hamilton, and in Spain he used the opportunity on the start-finish line and passed Russell without any problems. Therefore, if he could have waited for 3 laps and the DRS to be available, the chances that Russell would be a major issue were minor. Then he would have been able to challenge both of the Ferraris. That is, if he didn't have the same tyre degradation as Verstappen. Apart from Red Bull being mad at Perez for his failed overtake, there were other heated moments in the Austrian GP. This time, the drivers were really mad towards the race director, Niels Wittich, and the race track limit breaches, as it cost multiple drivers 5-second penalties, and others were on their last, 3rd infringement of this rule. Prior to the 2022 season, the FIA stated a rule that the white lines are the track edges, and if a car goes with all 4 wheels outside of it, it means that the lap time will be deleted because the driver has gained the time by going outside of the trap. To elaborate on this further, the driver needs to get as fast as possible out of the corner to receive more speed on the straight line that follows the corner. That was the case with Turn 10 in the Austrian GP, and even with 1 mile per hour faster exit, the driver could receive 10 mile per hour more speed in the start-end part of the track, which comes right after corner 10. But if a driver tries to push the limits as far as possible, there is a chance that he'll end up outside of the corner and breach track limits, which was the case in Austria multiple times. This saw Perez losing his lap time after going out in turn 8 and being disqualified after already entering Q3, and it saw multiple drivers receiving a 5-second penalty in the race. You may ask yourself, why the 5-second penalty? Well, the drivers have 3 allowed breaches of the track limits. If they surpass the 3rd one and go on to do the 4th breach, the 5-second penalty will be applied to their time. On the 3rd breach, the driver will receive a black and white flag as a warning that he cannot breach the track anymore, otherwise he'll receive the penalty. This was discussed at the drivers' meeting with the FIA stewards and race directors, as Vettel was fuming and exited the meeting angry due to the inconsistency of the stewarding. The inconsistency was also seen in the overtaking part of Austria and Silverstone, as the new rules suggest that the driver who does an overtake needs to have a huge amount of his car ahead of the other driver, regardless of if he's doing it on the outside or the inside of the corner. While Russell was penalised fairly for this breach, we've seen Perez pushing Leclerc out of Silverstone and not getting penalised for that. As a comparison, Albon got punished 5 seconds for pushing out Norris in the sprint race in Austria, a situation that was very similar to the one that Perez and Leclerc found themselves in. Therefore, the drivers are really fed up with the FIA and the inconsistency that they are constantly bringing along with them. One major factor in this is that there are 2 directors, Wittich and Freitas, and they have different interpretations of the rules. This saw Russell going as far as saying that the one director principle should come back, just like last year with Michael Masi. However, it's Mercedes' fault that we have 2 race directors now, as they were the ones pushing for his replacement after the controversial end of the 2021 season. I agree we need to stick to 1 race director. We need to have a bit more consistency with the stewarding. We come to the following event and often the steward at the previous event isn't there. So there's no accountability, no explanations of decisions. We ask questions and it's difficult to get a straightforward answer because almost a bit blame is being put onto someone else who isn't there. So it's tricky. Everyone has their own interpretations, said Russell. Max Verstappen, the reigning world champion, also shared his opinion on this matter, as he thinks that it's not good for the sport that the FIA brings these kinds of decisions. There are things we have to look into how we can make it better, because also for the stewards and just the people involved with checking these track limits. I mean, it's almost impossible to check these kinds of things because you need like 1 guy on 1 car the whole race to check the whole lap if he's not going outside of the white line, where on this track, at least in some places, you get naturally penalised if you just go a bit wider and you touch the gravel. These kinds of things, I think, just doesn't look good for the sport as well. And this is just one thing. Then the other thing is racing incidents and stuff. Yeah, for sure we can do better. I think we will work on it. We'll try to make it better, added Max. With that being said, it's safe to note that F1 drivers are willing to push for changes, and it's most likely that this will happen soon rather than later. The FIA has been in the negative center of the attention very frequently, and that's the last thing they need after how the season ended last year. Therefore, stick around with us to find out more about this matter, as we'll keep you updated on things.